Hello, everybody. It's Ashton of Zash and Son. I got a real winner for you tonight. Jamila Bay was going on the O'Reilly Factor, and the host of the evening and Horace Cooper were the other people speaking. This was a real shit show about the whole Berkley incident, and let's give it a watch.
In the Unresolved Problems segment tonight, the far left's war against free speech. Last week, the University of California, Berkeley descended into violent chaos ahead of a speech by Breitbart editor Milo Yiannopoulos. The riot caused more than $100,000 in damage and forced the speech's cancellation. Despite that, UC Berkeley student newspaper has now published 5 essays actually praising the violence and opposing Yiannopoulos' right to speak. Joining us now to analyze from Washington, from the National Center for Public Policy Research, Horace Cooper, along with Jamila Bay, a radio talk show host. Now, Jamila, I'll start with you. We all know about the right of free speech, but in the Constitution, it's talked about as a peaceable protest. In other words, peaceful protests are protected, not violent protests.
Absolutely. And frankly, these young students at Berkeley, who are among the smartest in the world, put themselves on the line in defense of their fellow students.
What were they being defended from? Speech? Nobody was physically coming to attack them. There wasn't a bunch of people lined up with guns to go out and hunt them down. So there's a little bit of BS right there.
One of the highest things that we hope our people do in battle, and they're doing it already at school, to say we do not accept the violence that Milo, I'm sorry I mispronounced his name, brings to the people he chooses to out, bringing out their names.
From what I've seen, Milo's never outed anybody at one of his speeches. He would consider that assaulting that person. He would not. I mean, he'll out professors that are acting like cucks, but I've never seen him out somebody that was a closet gay or hiding something from people. So again, this woman is choosing words that is bullshit. I'm going to keep saying bullshit a lot in this one.
Jamila, we agree. We agree on the right to protest the speech, right, but we disagree on the part where the violence was actually, I don't know, held on a pedestal by UC Berkeley. 5 op-eds published praising the violent part of it.
Well, these students are young people, and I'm sure that
they're young people being indoctrinated by their professors at Berkeley. The mayor of Berkeley was going along with this until it got out of hand. It should have never have gotten to the point where the protesters were pushing through the lines that the police had set. But the police weren't out there enforcing their lines either, because the mayor told them not to. So the mayor and the college both colluded for this problem.
They may even change their minds, but the arguments they made were sound. And what they said was...
I'm going to bring Horace in. I don't need to keep cutting you off, but how can you say it's a sound argument when the Constitution clearly protects free speech, but not violent free speech? Horace,
Okay.
I want to bring Horace in. Go ahead, Horace.
Here's the thing. These arguments weren't about being sound. These arguments were about justifying violence. If 5 people go to a Woolworths restaurant to peaceably demonstrate that they believe they should have the right to be there, the rhetoric that was demonstrated in these op-eds and the behavior that we saw at Berkeley means that it would have been okay for masked intruders to go to the Woolworths and beat the hell out of them because they don't agree with what they're standing for. The First Amendment's purpose is for us to have a civil disagreement, to bring the strong argument, not violence. This was a terrible example, and if they're this bright, then this is dangerous, a sign of where we're headed.
And Jamila, you know, UC Berkeley claims to be the birthplace of free speech. Let's talk about the free speech on Milo's part. He wasn't allowed to speak.
And here it comes. The bullshit's going to keep on coming, folks. But you just heard that gentleman, Horace Cooper, explain. Peaceable protest. When I was in the service in the 80s, I used to love seeing the nuclear protesters outside the base as I was going on base, because that's what I was in the service for, to protect their right to protest.
He wasn't allowed to get up and read a list of illegals. He wasn't allowed to get up and give information that was going to be able to make it so that those who would do harm to such students could find them, could find their professors, could find their family and friends. That's what these students were
And I still don't believe the whole list thing. Milo Yiannopoulos, from what I've seen, and I've watched most of his speeches over the last year and a half, does not put out the names of people that don't put themselves in the limelight. When he talks about a professor, that professor has done something to put themselves in the limelight. He does not out people. This woman talking bullshit is not got the facts on her side.
So let me just repeat your words. Let me just repeat your words. He wasn't allowed to read a list, or give information. He wasn't allowed to do that, yet the protesters were allowed to be riotous and violent, Horace.
Yeah, this is an argument that somehow something someone is going to say gives me a heckler's veto, not just to interject myself, but to burn the place down, to threaten and assault and attack people. What if this had been a gay pride event on the campus and some individuals decided to put masks on and they were going to shut this down because they didn't agree and they were going to do it with violence?
Well, that certainly would have happened at Berkeley.
This is unacceptable.
What is unacceptable is that...
You're right. That wouldn't have happened at Berkeley, because a gay pride event would be virtue signaling and make them happy. This riot actually is the students virtue signaling against a conservative speaker. Milo Yiannopoulos' speaking is not a reason for violence. It might be a reason to set up another speaker somewhere else on campus, or safe spaces with crayons and cuddly bears, but no reason for violence.
Milo has made millions of dollars on going and bringing violence. And
Milo does these speeches for free. The only thing that that they have to pay for is security. And most times the college will throw on the security cost at the last minute to try and stop the speech from going forward, because they know the students can't afford it. So Milo helps get the bill paid. So no, Milo's not made millions of dollars giving these speeches.
And bringing terror to individuals he doesn't like. We know that he went on a college campus and outed.
That
is absolutely true. Milo
if that were true, he would be indicted. He has not injured one person. He has not engaged in a violent act against one person.
You're wrong. You are absolutely wrong. Milo got kicked off of Twitter because he called his
Guys.
She's about to bring up the whole Twitter thing. We all know what really happened there. Milo did not call anybody to do anything, but he did join in on trolling Leslie a little bit, because Leslie was playing this part of the special snowflake. And when you act like a special snowflake, the trolls will troll. I'm sorry, it's the reality of the internet.
Guys, hold on.
order
But but clarify, Jamila. What violence did Milo himself perpetrate?
Milo himself did not throw a brick or hurl a slur. Milo said, "Hey, everyone, if you want to get
protected, Jamila. That's speech. That may be disgusting speech to some people, but it is still protected
that's bringing
speech.
threat. That's not protected on a college campus. Berkeley has the right.
Protected in America.
Berkeley students have the right to say no. We are standing up for the least among us.
Nobody there is the least among them. Even the non-documented immigrants that are there on scholarships are not the least among them. There are plenty of people who just cannot afford it, and they don't get to go. Every kid on that campus is special. Some because their parents can afford it, some because they qualified for a scholarship and earned it. But none of them have the right to stop free speech.
Standing up for those who do not have the voice.
We will throw a brick at you.
All right, I'm going to leave it right here. Jamila, I'll give you 20 seconds. Go, finish this up.
These students did what they learned in class. They stood up together. They spoke out together.
Well, that's a shame.
Police showed up, and you know, it's
They
better
learned.
than if.
They did what their professors taught them to do, and the police hid in the building and waited for the rioters to settle down some till they got more police there and broke it up.
They learned to create a $100,000 in damage with broken windows, throwing fireworks at police and smoke bombs. This is what they're learning at UC Berkeley. I thank God my son goes to Colorado. I got to leave it right here.
Every student has the right to speak up, and I commend Berkeley students.
And we agree with speech. We just don't agree with the violence. Horace, Jamila.
All right, folks. Y'all know how I've said on this channel, if it's something about free speech, I'm going to bring it up. And here we are again. Yet another person missing the reality of what free speech is really about. The reality is anybody could say almost anything and get away with it. We do have libel laws for if you say something false about someone that somehow harms them financially or through their reputation. So there is spots there where free speech is limited. You can't scream out bomb on a plane or fire in a theater. But nowhere in the whole free speech thing does it say it's okay to riot and destroy private or public property. I am sick and tired of having these Democrats, these people that don't even know who... This woman probably did not know who Milo Yiannopoulos was before she chose to speak out about this. She just said, ooh, the Berkeley students were protecting their own. Well, none of them needed protecting. He wasn't there harming any of them. And if a undocumented, well, let's put it truthfully, if an illegal alien student somehow loses their grant because they're an illegal alien, I'm sorry, but that's the way it is. But the fact of the matter is, most illegal aliens that are students at a college like that, the college would not process them out. And I don't really blame them. Because most of these students in that situation have been here since they were either very young or they were born here and they're actually naturalized citizens. If they were born here, they're not in the problem anyway. If they were brought here really young, that's what the whole dreamer deal that Obama signed was about, was to protect them. I would be willing to say 90% of America does not have a problem with these kids that were 5, 6 years old when their parents drug them across the border, or were babies in diapers when their parents drug them across the border, and they are growing up to try and be American citizens. The problem with illegal immigration is where we're talking about the ones that are violent criminals. Now, I'm really, really getting sick and tired of hearing about how the precious snowflakes don't want to hear Milo speak. Last spring at DePaul University, they got him shut down. Black Lives Matter actually got him shut down because they took over the stage. This year, UC Davis in California shut down due to protesting. A man was shot outside of the university in Washington because the protesters attacked the man and he shot someone in self-defense. And now we've got this in Berkeley. That's 4 times in the last year this man, Milo Yiannopoulos, has been stopped from speaking, and he's just a conservative speaker who actually is sort of funny when you watch him. But that sort of funny cannot be had because it might impress a snowflake. They might cry about it. Wah. I served 6 years in the U.S. Navy for the right of my fellow citizens to have the right to speak, the right to bear arms, all the other special rights we get living in America, the freest country in the world. I do not want to see or hear about someone being so triggered by speech that they have to attack someone else. If the law was really being followed, I would like to see every one of those rioters arrested and put in jail. Because once they started breaking things, they became rioters, not protesters. Protesters are non-violent. Rioters want to hurt and destroy. And that's not protected in our Constitution. Like, favorite, subscribe. I know this went long, but this was another important one. This is one that needs to get out there. Y'all have a good night. God bless.